Pay strict attention to what I say because I choose my words carefully and I never repeat myself. My name is John Q. The Q stands for Quinn Boys, and I've seen over a dozen Denzel Washington films in my life. My co-host's name is Leonard Smith Jr., and he eats his own boogers. Coming to you from Burbank, California, this is the Film versus Film podcast. Leonard, what's up, man?
I do not eat them. I don't eat them.
I've never seen you eat them, but, we call you boogers. So that's what I assume. That's how you got that nickname.
All I'm saying is, what's wrong if you take a little bread? I'm just telling him to take some bread with me. Anyways, I am Leonard Smith Jr.
I see you taking that bread.
Oh, my God. It was such a great line. Anyways, I am Leonard Smith Jr., and we have a great episode for you today. It's going to be a lot of stern, loud, very... Oh man, I don't even.
Okay, all right.
Talking.
Okay,
yeah. I know,
easy, man. Come on.
I'm getting lost in the sauce. We got a fun episode today, thanks to our guest who gave us a great prompt. The actor, comedian, writer, member of Lemon Pepper Wet, Vince Peagler III.
What up? What up? What up? When you were talking about, you said loud, stern. I was like, oh, he's attacking all my characters right now. Basically, what Leonard looks at me as soon as I hit another octave in our scenes of loudness, he's just like, oh, here we go.
We love it. Yes. If you couldn't tell by the intro, today's episode is Denzel Washington. So I don't know if this is the best Denzel Washington performance, the best Denzel Washington movie, best Denzel being Denzel, but we'll figure it out in the episode.
Yeah, as usual, we will try to bend the prompt to our picks a little bit, probably. But we are talking about Denzel Washington movies this week, which is funny because we should just get it up right off the bat. We've talked about a Denzel Washington movie already this season. And yeah. I think, and again, before we even get to our own picks, it's a movie that I probably would have picked for the best Denzel Washington movie had we not already covered it in a different venue. You're looking at me like you wouldn't have. That movie was, for those who didn't listen to the episode, Training Day. Leonard, you're looking at me like you wouldn't have picked that movie, but I think that might have been mine.
I'm looking at you like you wouldn't have gotten the pick because Vince would have been like, Vince would have told me Denzel Washington. And then when I would have sent you the text that Vince chose Denzel Washington, I would have been like, I'm doing Training Day. Like,
okay, so for the best then, so we are kind of arguing second best. Maybe that's what we should make the prompt. Second best Denzel Washington movie.
Nope. We'll see. We'll figure it out.
But we are talking about Denzel movies. We'll probably talk about more than just the two that we picked. But before we kind of get into our picks, Vince, I'm curious, other than the obvious, what led you to pick this prompt? What about Denzel? Is that like your favorite actor, or I'm not sure, but I'm sure there's a lot of good answers.
Well, I'm African American, first of all, and
this is a podcast, so thank you for stating it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure people know.
We have Vince Peagler III, Leonard Smith Jr., and Quinn Boys, and I'm the only white person on this podcast.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, I cut you off, Vince. What were you?
No, not at all. Normally people can tell from the smoothness of my voice. It must come from a black man. But I don't know. Robin did kind of change the game up. You don't know these days. That being said, I wanted to let people know that I'm black. And also growing up, it went like this. Sidney Poitier and then Denzel Washington, two greatest actors, period, of all time. So I've seen like all of Denzel films. And they influenced me greatly to the point where I've tried my Denzel voice. I don't know if Leonard, do you have a Denzel voice?
I don't think I do.
When you got Denzel,
I knew that at some point in this episode, you were going to ask me, or like it was going to come up that I was going to have to do a Denzel.
Let's hear you, Denzel. Let's hear you. Denzel enunciates. Here we go.
I have you. No, this is like give me a second, okay? Give me a second. Later.
I will not go to the back of the bus. He just like he enunciates everything a lot. He's like, okay. Let me ask you this. But it's so hard to get. I feel like once I can get a Denzel impersonation locked, it's it's really going to blow my career to a totally different level.
That's going to be it for you. I feel like I get what you're saying. That like a Denzel impression to me, like what I look for or what I like appreciate about his movie star charisma or something is he always usually has that scene where someone's trying to tell him something, but they're being evasive, and he'll just jump in at every. He's like, "Oh, okay, you're not sure. Oh, you're not sure anymore. Oh, now you're trying to tell me the truth." Like he'll just like.
Yeah. Wait, was that your Denzel?
That's my Denzel.
Good, Quinn. that was Quinn's voice. He puts one around black guys. He's like, "Well, this guy's kind of cool."
Yeah, that's when I'm hanging out with Leonard. That's the voice I do. Leonard didn't hear my real voice until we.
It took a long time.
Please, do it again. I got to hear it again. This was great.
Oh no! You got to hear it again. Oh, you want to hear it again? You got to hear the voice.
Oh.
Listen, okay. Now for anyone who's saying I'm putting on black, I feel like it's just attitude. For me, like Denzel impression is like the attitude. If you come with that like kind of confrontational, like verbal confrontational attitude, I feel like that's halfway there. So you gotta get that, Leonard.
I feel like some people may be upset at our choices for these movies.
I mean, you're talking to the guy who picked Monsters Inc. for Pixar movies, so I can only go up.
I feel, you know what, I kind of forgot about. I guess we should reveal our choices.
Yeah, let's get
because we need to. My choice. I feel like I need to start defending my choice as soon as I start talking about it. But my
always
choice
a good place to come from.
he got game.
He got game.
1998, 1997, 1998. Spike Lee written and directed. This might as well be best Spike Lee because
I was thinking that too. It is 98, but yeah, we both picked Spike Lee movies.
Both picked Spike Lee movies. I mean, it's Denzel Washington. It's not that surprising.
We can never do a best Spike Lee episode though. We're doing it now. I guess
we can't now because we've already done. Damn, what was wrong?
I know exactly what you're thinking, and now you can't get it as I could get to the hottest day in the summer and do the right thing. Sam? Do the right thing.
Jesus Christ!
Let the record show that I got there first.
He got game. We got this. Anyways, but yes, Spike Lee written and directed. It's about Denzel Washington, who is playing Jake Shuttlesworth. He is a convict at Attica prison in upstate New York, where he is serving a 15-year sentence for the murder of the death of his wife, the killing of he murdered her. Yeah, he murdered his wife.
It's kind of involuntary manslaughter.
Yeah, manslaughter. But
if he had a good lawyer, he would have got involuntary manslaughter.
But
he would have been out by now.
Yeah. He has been in prison for 6 years. He was a father of two. One of his sons he pushed very hardly to be good at basketball. He loves basketball. While he's in prison, his son goes on to, fulfill his father's dreams, which I guess became his dreams, even though he resented his father because he killed his mother. And he's in prison for 6 years, and he is the number one recruit in the entire nation. Everyone's trying to get him to come to school. People are pulling him this away, that away. The governor of the state wants. This is such a crazy, far-fetched idea, but
right?
But also feels believable because like rich white people with money will do anything for their alma maters. It's kind of crazy.
Facts.
He wants his son, Jesus Shuttlesworth, to go to Big State, his alma mater. So he's giving Jake 7 days to try to go and convince him to sign a letter of intent. And if he does, his sentence will be shortened. We don't know about how much, but it will be. And we are following him over this next 7 days, waiting for the announcement of who he is going to sign his letter of intent with, or if he's going to go to the NBA. And it's interesting. It's a good movie. There's some interesting acting in some of it. So, but
it's crazy that they think that plan, Leonard, that you're talking about was like, they know why he's in jail. Whether by mistake or not, he killed his wife in front of the son, and the cops would know that because the son's the only like witness. And they're like, let's let him out of jail. He could probably convince this kid to go to Big State.
Right?
Like, once you tell him that's what you want to do, I'd expect the opposite next day to be like, I'm going to the NBA. Exactly. Like it's a weird plan, but it works. Spoiler alert, it works. But
so yeah, that is my film. It's starring obviously Denzel Washington, Ray Allen, Rosario Dawson. Oh man, I can't believe it. This is like the third movie he's been in now, third or fourth movie. We need to put him as a category. The light-skinned black dude in the Benz that's in Do the Right Thing.
Oh,
He's in All About the Benjamins.
he's in a lot, bro.
Can't
But he's
remember
always
his-
like that.
Big Time Willie?
Big time, yeah, he's Big Time Willie. I'm messing up this episode. I didn't have my stuff pulled up.
You don't got your notes in front of you, Leonard. That's because you're coasting right now and you're feeling good about yourself. But I have my notes prepared, and I don't know that guy's name, but I know it's Big Time Willie.
That's the character's name.
All this.
Yeah,
that's the character's name. But Roger. Oh, I can never say his name. Roger. Gouverneur Smith. Roger Smith.
Oh yeah,
yeah. He's been in quite a few of our movies now.
Bro, he's a fantastic actor.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
Shit!
He also is in He's also in the horror movie Tales from the Hood. He's also in Tales from the Hood.
Oh shit!
Mm-hmm.
He's all over the place,
bro. He's in all the black movies,
bro.
Like,
he's worked. He had an amazing career.
Yeah,
he has an amazing career.
This movie is like, and which I appreciate about it. Okay, so surprise of nobody. I'll get it out of prop. I say this every time Leonard picks a movie. I had not seen this movie before, so this is the first time I watched this movie.
I had a mother. Oh wait, you talking about He Got Game?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the first time
I've
seen
seen my movie.
Okay, I was gonna say you revealed you. Okay, anyways.
No, I had not seen He Got Game. I was familiar really only with the title and honestly the name Jesus Shuttlesworth, but I did not know how it fit into the story or anything. I just knew that, and it is two things. This is like the most loving basketball movie I've ever seen, which I think is very cool. This movie made me wish that I was good at basketball and wish that I like had more of an appreciation for the NBA and all that stuff, which I think is a mark of good filmmaking. It starts with a approximately 95-minute montage of people playing basketball.
I was waiting. I knew it was
all over the place, which is cool. It's set to. I appreciate it.
To classical music. The
Jesus Shuttlesworth character. It's crazy how much he like presages LeBron. Like, I understand that there were hype prospects before LeBron, but like the media bonanza and stuff, like all those like Sports Center packages in the film for Jesus Shuttlesworth, played by Ray Allen, which is also cool. I was like, this is crazy predictive of like again, I know this stuff existed already, but just like the Messiah complex that we gave LeBron, it exists in this movie for a character who's literally named Jesus.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool to see in 1998, which is when this movie came out.
I'll talk about the movie more. This movie is dope. You know, it is very loving. Like it is like, I think it's a pretty good story, you know.
Wait, Leonard, hold on a second. You're telling me, because when Quinn explained this movie just now, I was like, this is totally different from the way I saw the movie. Like, listening to Quinn's review,
I know,
this is the most loving basketball movie ever. I was like, loving basketball was the most loving basketball movie.
Loving. But
I was like, what?
I guess I mean like the film, like Spike Lee loves basketball, and you can just tell from all the like care of the shots and like the But I understand there's the father-son dynamic and there's a hardship. But I'll let you keep talking about it, Leonard.
But you know, the way the movie was presented, like you said, was like there's a lot of troubling things in this movie, but like the love for the game and like the way the movie was made, you could tell that like there was like, it was just like, damn, this is how basketball can mean so much to someone or to people. And that's how he said the opening is a great opening. Just seeing all these different people just like in different areas of the country and the world just playing basketball and, just seeing how much it meant to him. And this movie does a great job at representing that. But man, yeah, it's about a abusive father who is trying to live vicariously through his child. I don't even really, some of these, Denzel he may get the most screen time in this, but like there is a lot of periods in the film where you're not seeing Denzel. Mm-hmm. And so, that's going to be, for sure an argument I know of Quinn's, but the way the movie was made, the dynamic between him and his son is like he wasn't going to be around his son all the time, and to truly tell the story, you also have to see Jesus's point of view and see what he has to deal with. And even though like the first person you see is Denzel, and I feel like he is the main character of the movie, it's just the dynamic between him and his son, and like him coming across and all the shit that he's having to deal with. And I think it's just a really good story that needed to be told and kind of was, a little bit of ahead of its time and predicting, there's always going to be some next great Messiah, some next great player.
Yeah, sure.
But, it wasn't really seen like thinking about it from like the number one recruit in the country and literally seeing like normally when you see these movies, it's like during the basketball season. And like there's a lot of just like, oh, the turmoils and troubles he has to go through the basketball like games and playing. But this was like, no, this is all about the other side of that you don't see. And the decision-making process, the dealing with media, coaches, agents, and usually basketball players in this situation don't have the guidance that they need because most great basketball players, it seems to come from impoverished situations or things like that, where African Americans come from shitty situations a lot of times. So, there isn't always the best guidance for them. And it was just kind of like, all right, let's put an eye on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Vince, what was your relationship to this movie? I'm interested. I take it you've probably seen it before, but maybe not. How did you?
Quinn, I've seen every single Denzel movie, bro. What are you talking about?
Of course,
except for maybe I think I missed I missed the one where he's like the lawyer.
I knew it. I knew that was going to
be.
I was like, I'm not.
I knew it. I heard it was.
I
good,
was like, I was like, I feel like this is going to mess up my psyche as Denzel. I'm not going to watch this. It just wasn't a good enough reviews for it. So
okay.
Either way, I watched He Got Game back in the day, and then I hadn't watched it probably in like 10 years. I watched Inside Man first, and then I watched He Got Game second, just to give you a little bit of like relativeness as far as like the order of them.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like most like basketball prospects, if you're number one prospect, even if you're like number 1 to 20, I feel like this can like pertain to that guy's life who's Black, coming from a hood. Those guys are like prophets, messiahs, and you see what can happen in that type of dynamic from a family standpoint and the pressures that they have to face with going to like that next level. I looked it up a bit. I think this story was loosely based on Stephon Marbury's story coming out of like New York, and it was ridiculous in the premise of it. Like you kind of have to go along with it. Like Leonard's right, there's a lot of symbolism because rich white people that are boosters will do anything for like their schools. So I was like the governor willing to let this convict out of prison to do this impossible mission was like ridiculous, but you just gotta like go along with the ride at that point.
I will say this, he does tie it up at the end where they're like, oh, he escaped, and they try to like con him out. That's, I was like, all right, see, that's what would really happen. So it made it a little bit more believable.
Yeah, it was like, but it was just like a play on the system. At the end of the day, you had to go along with this story and realize there was going to be like a lot of symbolism.
Yeah.
Personally, I feel like Spike Lee has problems with telling stories. But it's so stylized that it's a Spike Lee joint. You know what you're going to expect when you're going to go into Spike Lee. He's not going to give you a linear story. He's going to give you 95 minutes of cats playing basketball over classical music, and there's going to be some beautiful shots in that. But you're going to be like, there's no character development of this guy at all. And I kind of get what you're saying in this story, but it's not like a full, complete, arc of the main character dynamic that you're normally going to find in most stories. But that being said,
yeah, go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
No, I'm like, yeah, there were some issues with some of the characters for sure. But let's go into, before we start really breaking it down. Let's talk about. Let's go with Quinn's pick.
Okay, so my pick is from a later. It's from we got 90s Denzel. Now we have 2000s Denzel. I picked another Spike Lee joint. Although interestingly, Spike writes, it is a Spike Lee, is it not?
I wouldn't consider Inside Man a Spike Lee joint.
I think he calls all of his movies joints. What are you?
No, but this is when like it wasn't written by him. It was
by
someone else.
That's what I was gonna say.
That for sure helps. That for sure, like, because he didn't write it. Like you said, he's very stylized. He has his own style.
Yeah.
But this was like, all right, we giving Spike money. We got this movie that we want Denzel to do it, so we got to get Spike Lee to direct it.
It is interesting because it's like, how many movies, and we can probably look it up. We don't need to do it right now, but like, how many movies has Spike Lee directed that he did not himself write or have any hand in writing? It's probably not a lot. I think the majority of his movies he writes, or at least adapts from a different story or whatever. Mm-hmm. But not this one. But that's okay, because we're not talking about Spike. We're talking about Denzel, and I'm talking about the 2006 movie Inside Man, which is it's a very simple plot. It's a bank heist movie, and Denzel gets to flex his muscles, I think, do kind of what he does best as a hostage negotiator, which means he gets to be kind of the big man on campus. He's like hanging out behind the scenes, behind the police tape, while Clive Owen, who plays the main criminal, is inside the bank. They got a bunch of hostages, and Denzel is trying to obviously de-escalate the situation while also kind of realizing over the course of the movie that they are there for things other than just clearing out the bank and trying to make a getaway. So it's kind of has like those old, what I like about it, and all Spike Lee movies are kind of New York movies. So we've got that element in here too, as is He Got Game, different kind of parts of New York. This is like takes place in the financial district downtown. It's pretty much one location. It's just inside the bank and outside the bank. But we get to see, I think, a lot of like that kind of Spike Lee style, and at this point he and Denzel had made like 3-4 movies together, so they have a real, like, Denzel knows what he's doing in a Spike Lee movie. Yeah, I mean, it's a kind of twisty sort of thriller kind of movie, but Denzel plays what I feel like when I think of a Denzel performance is he's always playing a character who's kind of in control. He's not always like the top dog. He's usually got to like kick up to somebody, and he's sometimes a little bit like put upon, or like he kind of has like an everyman quality, but he's also like the exceptional everyman. Like you're with this guy. Like there's no Clive Owen's in this movie. Christopher Plummer is in this movie. Jodie Foster is in this movie. Willem Dafoe is in this movie. Chiwetel Ejiofor is in this movie. This is a Denzel. Thank you.
Shout out, because I wouldn't have never said his name.
Yeah, you know that.
Chiwetel. What's his last name? Say his last name one more time.
Ejiofor. I'm pretty sure I have that.
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
All these great actors. I mean, I think I just listed like 3 Academy Award winners and 2 nominees. All these great actors, and not even including Denzel. And this is a Denzel movie, like, for sure. He's the only face on the poster with all that whole lineup. So
he's the only face on the He Got Game poster as well.
Yeah. But I mean, He Got Game is Denzel and Ray Allen. But
I would say this is Clive Owen. This was Denzel and Clive Owen as well.
It was, but I think it's 1-2. I don't think it's like Laverne and Shirley. But I'm just saying it's a much more like He Got Game is kind of this sprawling kind of like, at times, I mean, it's very biblical. I think all the ways that it's biblical. His kids are named Jesus and Mary. So it's this kind of more like mythological kind of like look at basketball and a father-son relationship and all these things. And Inside Man is a straight crime drama sort of thriller thing, which I think, both have their merits, but they're 2 very different films despite having the same lead actor and the same director. Which
is, an accolade to, or a way of showing how great Denzel Washington is. He can play many a role. How did you feel about our picks when we gave them to you, Vince?
And had you seen we know Vince has seen every Denzel movie. Like, what was your relationship with this one?
Except for that one where he's a lawyer.
Is that like Roman J. Israel
Esquire?
Roman J. Esquire. Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I'm not going to. I want to go back real quick because I think you're right, Quinn. We were going on tangents about Spike Lee, but I will say this: like, Denzel made Spike Lee. Like, Denzel is so good. He saved these films because his acting was so good throughout both of them that I was just like, man, Denzel. Anybody can take Denzel a project, like back in that time, and he would make it better. That's just how good he was in, like, and at that time and throughout my life. He Got Game. Overall, I just want to go back real quick. He Got Game. The dude is playing. He's not an abusive dad. He's the formulated dad for anybody who's coming out of the hood, who's trying to make it. You need that semi-psycho dad who's going to try to get your psyche to believe that you can handle anything. He knows his job. He looks at all the greats.
I mean, he did
we all
murder
seen
his
it.
wife, so therefore, someone was abused and murdered.
But
so
look, but
he
check
fits
this
the
out.
mold
Look,
once.
all right. Hey,
Once you push the wife into the countertop,
I think it
you're
was
an
the
abusive.
stove.
it
I was like,
stove.
it was a countertop near the stove. But
Okay.
that's the problem. But this is the thing, Leonard. That was the problem with like the story. Like the only time he got
He was
crazy
drunk.
is when he had a bottle in his hand. I was like, wait, this is a lot of character. You're throwing.
Yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere. It was just
came
like
out of nowhere.
It was like, has he done this before?
He's drinking with some wino on the basketball court, and he's playing with his son. Who's this wino? You just showed me. Like, who's this guy? Like, you know what I mean? And then he goes in and like gets physical with his son and wife. I've never seen these character traits before. And I was just like, oh, Spike.
Especially because even in that scene where he's like, you know, and I did not have an overbearing sports father, but like that scene where he's like pushing him and then he's making the young Jesus kind of, he's getting in his head. Like you can see it. And now you can certainly argue the merits of like pushing your kid. And it seems like he's had him out there on the court all day and they've been there day after day.
Yeah.
But like when he's getting in his head, he's telling him kind of the coaching tag. He's like, oh, that's all it takes. I just got to get in your head. And now you're going to miss shot. Like, so it's like you see a method to his madness, and I'm not excusing the whatever, but to your point, Vince, and then he just sort of takes a couple shots from that handle, and then he comes home, and then he becomes like, it's a little bit of a, it's a hard change.
I was not upset with what happened on the basketball court. Like I was like you said, I was like, all right, I can see it. Like he's not like hurting the kid or anything. Like it's all about the basketball. But then when he just fucking snaps in the kitchen, it was just like, all right, this kind of like the way they were all acting. He had never hit any of them before. Like she wasn't acting like she had ever been hit before or anything. So that's what I'm saying. Some of the acting, or maybe it was the story, not necessarily acting.
It's the story, bro.
And then there are some issues with it for sure.
But Leonard, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
With that, even though the story was it was all over the place at times, Denzel Washington acted great in all those scenes. Like he was fantastic in all those scenes. So, like, if you were to watch any other actor, you're like, I'm not watching this crap. But the fact that Denzel was in it, you were like, man, he's able to carry this story along because it was choppy at times. Yeah, he was just good throughout the entire. I don't want to get too deep into it. I want to go back to Inside Man.
Yeah, and because how you feel about Inside Man and how you felt about our picks when we gave them to you. Were you surprised?
I'm sorry. What was the first thing you said?
How you feel about Inside Man and then when we gave you the choices, how did you feel?
So Inside Man, Denzel's given the task of playing a very like noir type New York cop in a little bit more of a modern age, right? I mean, and once again, the story had problems from like the dynamic with his girlfriend / wife. I think
that was so weird. Just like the whole random just calls between them.
She's like, trying to fuck every time she calls, like just in panties. Like
if you were with Denzel, you'd be trying to fuck.
No, bro. That's some fantasy life.
And the whole like her brother lives in the room next door and he came home, her brother's just sleeping on the couch. I was like, no fucking way. No. Not this character that I've been seeing this whole time. You mean to tell me he comes home to that? I don't fucking believe that at all. No. That shit just made no sense to me.
It made no sense. And yet Denzel in his greatness was able to straddle that damn movie and go back and forth from that scene where he's like, yeah, baby, you know daddy's going to give it to you. And then he goes like, all right, what do we have, guys? Like it was just like, normally it'd be cheesy, but the fact Denzel was just so good, he's just able to transition through those. You know what I mean?
They should have had a scene where he's talking, he's making like sexy talk, and then he realizes he's actually got Clive Owen on the line. He's like, oh
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I was yo,
exactly,
literally
bro.
About that.
I'm gonna clap them cheeks. He's like, wait, what? He's like, oh shit.
Exactly. He's Jordan out there. He's like, I'm crossing him over. I'm going to give him a match. I was like, man, this story sucks, but that was fucking fantastic. Man, so good.
So, okay, you had problems with both these movies. So
but the pitch, I was like, I enjoyed it. Well, I like the fact that they were both Spike Lee films because it does give you like, you know, even though Inside Man was, I felt like, I see your point, Leonard, is a little bit more formulaic Spike than we're used to, but it was still Spike nonetheless. And it had two different feels to it. So I was happy about it. I was happy about watching the films over again.
Did you think we were going to choose something else?
Well, yeah, like, so Training Day was out, and maybe it's one of these movies, but if it's not, if it is one of these
best
movies,
Denzel movie was Spike Lee.
Yeah, like
X. Malcolm X is that is the genesis
Leonard
of greatness with both of them. The dude was like, he should have won. He should have won the Academy Award that year when he played Malcolm X. There were some bangers in that category, I think.
We talked about it. I felt like I knew if I just chose Malcolm X that was going to win, and I didn't do that.
Yes.
I didn't do that because, first of all, I don't know if you needed to rewatch it, but I wasn't going to make you watch a 3.5 hour movie on short notice because we kind of like got this one a little. I forgot to ask you earlier than we were supposed.
Is it that long?
It's like 3.5 hours long.
Damn,
it's long as shit. And then I haven't seen that movie in a long time, and I don't think I've ever fully watched the whole movie. I know we had the movie as a kid, and it was on two tapes. It was like on 2 tapes. It wasn't on. It was so long. It was on 2 tapes.
Yeah,
and that's why I don't think that's why I ever like fully ever actually watched it.
Yeah.
Was there anything more daunting in the age before DVDs of going into a video store and trying to rent a movie and finding out that it needed 2 different cassette tapes? Like, I was just, as a kid, I remember that was Titanic was always like,
it was literally Titanic and Malcolm X. I don't think there was
anything
else. One single movie that needed 2 tapes.
Yeah. Okay, so you would have picked Malcolm X, which
that was
certainly.
We had a feeling.
Well, I didn't know, but I knew that would have been like that would have made sense as a pick, and it was almost Leonard's pick, and I'm glad that it wasn't, regardless of what happens.
I wanted to stay true to myself, and see him and pick a movie that I really watched a good amount of times and knew. And I almost went and Remember the Titans because I've seen it so much, but I was just like, this is too hokey. This isn't like, I thought you were going to choose Remember.
Yeah, I know you thought I was going to choose, but I wasn't about it. Just like you, Malcolm X being like the obvious flashing neon light. I'm like, I can't be the white guy picking Denzel movies and being like, you guys seen Remember the Titans? I was like, this feels like a trap. I don't know. But let's talk about that movie for a second. That was my first introduction to Denzel because I was not seeing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Malcolm X was, rated R. It was well before my time for seeing that movie. Like that was, that movie had already been out and I wasn't. And I'm trying to think of other movies he made in the 90s that I would have seen. It was, I think Remember the Titans might be 2000, but I remember seeing that movie in theaters.
And Quinn's a little younger than us too. So
I'm 17 years old and I saw that movie and
damn, you look horrible.
Thank you. I've been living hard. But yeah, like that is a very, and that movie also, I haven't seen that movie in forever, but that has a lot of what I think audiences have come to expect. Like he didn't caricature himself, but I think the world was like, oh, this is Denzel. He gives speeches and he brings racial harmony. And like, that's, I think what a lot of maybe white audiences think of Denzel is like, he's like the black guy that we like. And he tells us that, there's like very few of those
little white girls in South America.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, Man on Fire is a very different Denzel. But I'm just saying, like, that movie is very, like, white people and black people leave feeling good, and we've all sung Ain't No Mountain High Enough, and we all feel good. Like, so I was like, I can't pick that movie in 2021, but it's a hell of a Denzel performance, and he has a lot of good speeches and monologues in that movie.
Yeah.
And he does solve racism.
Yeah, he does.
Okay. Well, I don't think I have really talked about Inside Man. Inside Man, I think I saw Inside Man in theaters. I don't think I had as many issues. I mean, I did have the issue with like the phone call and the brother living in the thing. I thought that was really stupid. But living in the environment. Other than that, I thought the movie was fun. It was clever. I for sure remembered that like they build the prop wall and he lives in there for like a week. I remembered that twist at the end, but I had forgotten about the whole selling, and buying property in Germany or whatever from the Nazis and selling out Jews and stuff, like him being Jewish and selling out his own people. I had forgotten about that aspect. So, I still thought it was entertaining and it was a fun movie and it was pretty clever and I enjoyed it. Denzel, it's pretty, Denzel. He's killing it as always.
He's kind of he's looking good in other than the fact that he killed his wife, but he's looking good and he got game and he's playing it a little bit like I wouldn't say put on weight, but like he's wearing like baggier suits and they're not like in that scene where he like interrupts lunch with the mayor and Jodie Foster and he's kind of got his like baggy suit, and he's got that hat, which you called it, Vince. Is very like film noir, kind of like
Straight up film
downtrodden
noir.
detective, kind of,
Yeah. But
And
he
I do feel like
placed
he's
him in like a
playing
more
it.
modern.
It's
Yeah.
Denzel's version of slumming it a little bit, like he's worried about affording a diamond ring. He's trying to make first grade detective. He's not like even Training Day Denzel, which is a front, but even still, he's got like he's got the leather jacket and he looks good and he's confident. He doesn't have quite as much juice, but I feel like that is an interesting place to find him in this movie because he's still Denzel, but
yeah. I mean, you know what? I don't know. I feel like that's kind of his place though. When you think of Training Day, he's like the head honcho, but it's like,
he still answers to those white dudes at the diner.
Yeah, exactly. And there's always someone he answers to. And then like when he comes in, then the dude's like, "Nah, I'm gonna talk to Grossman." He's like, "Grossman's not here. I'm calling the shot. So you be talking to me." It's like he's like, "Bitch, I got the power now." It's like he just got a little taste of the power, and he's gonna let motherfuckers know this is what's about to happen. And I feel like that's usually a place you see him in most of his films. But this one was different though. I felt like, because like you said, he felt like he was like slicker, cooler, like he was trying to be clever and like thoughtful, and I don't think it's your typical Denzel Washington performance, but I think it's still a great performance.
I got an important question for you guys. I want to go back to He Got Game for a second.
Ready?
So Ray Allen is in this movie.
Yeah.
KG is in Uncut Gems.
Mm-hmm.
What is it with the '08 Celtics and like taking on prominent starring roles in movies? Is like Paul Pierce going to be in the next Scorsese movie? Or is
I hope not.
No.
Big Baby Davis is in the next Paul Thomas Anderson movie? Like what? I just want to know if this is it or what's going on.
This won't happen.
Rajon Rondo is going to be in the next. I'm just saying, like, I want to know. I want all the Celtics to be just all the '08 Celtics to just be a movie. It's interesting. I did not put Ray Allen on the same level as KG. I thought KG, he's playing himself, but KG
Ray
is
Allen,
a little better.
Ray Allen was so young when he like played this.
Was he in the NBA or was he?
Yeah, he was 23.
Yeah,
okay.
he had just entered.
He was like a rookie.
Yeah,
okay.
Which was an interesting choice to have him, a non-actor, play this role.
Mm-hmm.
But watching it as a kid, like younger, and then watching it now, like when I was younger, I was like, this is just stupid that we should not have used him. But then watching it now, I'm like, it kind of makes sense. Like he was around good enough actors where I don't know if you talk to a lot of athletes, but they're kind of awkward like that. They're like Ray, like he didn't want an actor acting like, acting this out. He wanted they're a little socially awkward.
Ray Allen is supposed to be playing a emotionally stunted,
yeah, that's what he was.
Closeted as far as like emotionally and his like person, like, just like I felt like his acting may have not been the best, but then it's like, no, I kind of felt the way you always felt like, or the way you felt like, man, that acting performance was always trash, kind of.
Yeah.
But when you really watch it, it's like, no, man, that's how athletes are. That's the way they are. Like,
it seemed like Spike was prioritizing also, like, because there's a lot of the movie's called He Got Game. So if you hire a young actor who's really good, but doesn't look like they could like cross you up on the court, then you lose credibility on the other end. And I feel like I understand the decision because Ray Allen is Ray Allen. So you see him out there doing things and you're
exactly.
Like, yep. But then there's the scene where he's like talking to his sister and he's like grabbing her. He's like, I'll kill you if you say that. And I'm like, I kind of wish they gave him a little bit less. So I think there's pluses and minuses to it. I didn't think he was very good when he had to like act, but if you put him with Rosario Dawson, who is looking great in this movie, big time Rosario Dawson fan, was not aware that she was in this movie. It was a very pleasant surprise. Then it works. If you put him with the, actually works. But if he has to carry a scene, I didn't think he was really up to it necessarily.
As far as him that with his sister, that was just like, what's going on? I didn't understand that, but I did understand it because I think what they were trying to do was show just how Denzel had this side to him where he was snapped. His son realized he was kind of very similar to his dad because as far as the story wise, when like he definitely reflected on that and he gave his dad more chances after that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With that interaction with his sister, he was like, man, I'm kind of like this guy instead of me being so like polarized, he opened up a little bit more.
And even in that scene, man, I'm still not gonna come at Ray Allen. I felt like I would come at him harder, but watching, I'm just like, man, this is just how some of these dudes talk and how some of them really just sound.
They do.
And it's I don't know. It made me feel like, all right, maybe this is more genuine and more believable. Like I don't need some like some like sappy somebody really trying to just get into it. And it's like, no, some of these players, because of the way they are and the way they have to change their minds and their thought process to dominate. He's supposed to be the number one prospect in the country. You know what I'm saying? Which is why you need someone, like you said, of Ray Allen's caliber. People might remember Ray Allen as just a 3-point shooter, as an older vet in the NBA. But back in the day, that motherfucker would cross you up. He'd dunk on you. He hit you from mid-range. He hit you from 3-point. He had all the abilities, but also when you're that player, you kind of have to be emotionally just like closed off to the world if you want to like survive and be the best and dominate others.
What did you guys think of Denzel's? So I'm not asking you guys, but like, I don't know. Vince is like, what's your guys' number one sport? Leonard, we've talked about it. I'm a baseball guy. If I'm remembering correctly, you're more of a football guy than a basketball guy, but I know you follow the Bulls. I know you're a basketball fan.
Used to be more of a football guy, but now I'm a
now you're more basketball.
Guy.
How convenient for this. No, I'm just kidding. Vince, what's your main sport?
My main sport?
Yeah.
I like a lot of sports. I don't know if I have a main one.
Okay.
I do like basketball. I like watching football on TV and not in person. I don't like being at the games. It's just not as exciting as watching it on TV. Baseball, I like being at the games, and then basketball, I like being at the games, and soccer, I like being at the games.
Well, then I'll throw it to you guys because I don't watch a lot of basketball, but and that's probably because I grew up in the New York area. And the Knicks have been my team for the last 20 years, but like, was Denzel convincing? Like to my eyes, I don't have a lot of knowledge. He looked like he looked like a believable, I mean, granted, he's playing against the kid in a lot of those scenes.
His jump shot was funny. He had a
weird, like the hand went way back. Is that?
Yeah.
Because he's supposed to be like a guy who could really play, and then he didn't make it, and then he taught his son. So like, we're supposed to believe he has a certain level of skill.
Yes,
and then they say something about like, yeah, your dad used to ball. That Big Tom Willie said that to him. Yeah, man, your dad used to be out here balling. And but also, the thing with the knees, I think like his form had to change because his knees was fucked up. That's what I kind of told myself. Mm-hmm. Like he was just out there taking jumpers, and his knees was always taped up. I was like, this motherfucker been balling for a long time, and he's just that old jumpers. He's just that old man at the Y who takes the like you got to take care of his body, but also make that jumper. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. It could have been. He was basically like Master P, but he didn't have the musical aspects.
Master P did have a jump shot like that.
But look, I love Master P. That dude is a businessman. And his son went and played, in college. Romeo played in college, so.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
USC.
Sorry, just checking my fantasy score. It's really important to me in the moment. I apologize.
Vince, please hold that against him when you make your decision letters. Leonard is on his phone. Leonard, I gotta, this goes back for us to the beginning of this podcast, but he makes a cameo appearance. Our old adversary, Michael Jordan, is in this movie.
He is.
He gets the title line, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yes.
But in that Sports Center package of all those stars talking about the fictional Jesus Shuttlesworth, but they have like Shaq and Michael Jordan and a lot of Sports Center personalities, Rick Pitino, like coaches. They cut to Michael Jordan and he looks straight at the camera and he just goes, "He got game." And I guess that's not the only time it's said, but it might be the first time it's said. And I was like,
I don't know how this happened, but it's so crazy. If you guys watched through the entire credits, at the end, the last scene in the credits was Michael Jordan again, and it popped up, and he said, "I'm gonna fucking murder Leonard Smith Jr. and Quinn Boys in 2021."
He did say that? Oh no!
He said that. He said, "I'm fucking coming for them. They think they got away, but I'm fucking gonna get them. Those motherfuckers."
We have a long rivalry with Michael, Vince.
I have to admit, I didn't watch the credits to the end. I was like, I got to go back and watch this shit.
Yeah. Michael,
and you know he's going to do it because he probably put money on it. So he's not going to let that one go to waste.
And I took that personally.
But no, that whole montage was really cool. All the coaches and the big names. And all I could think about is like, Spike Lee's got a lot of friends. Like Spike Lee's got a lot of friends.
Bro, he does.
And literally, I've always said it since I was a kid, and it's still true. I don't care about like being famous. If you're listening to the podcast, I am an aspiring stand-up comedian, actor, or whatever. Anything in entertainment. I just want to get famous enough that I can like go to sports games and be known as like that sports fan, that I get like the cool sports perks and get to meet the players and hang out with them.
They put you in the Jumbotron once and you wave.
Not even that, where I can like go on to like, no, I mean like, not that, so more so like, oh, he'll be on ESPN talking about the team, or he'll like, I just want like just to get famous enough to be like a super fan of a team.
Mm-hmm. To be able to afford to be a super fan.
Be able to afford to, and then once I'm able to afford to, that I'm there, because if I can, I'm just going to be there all the time. So it's just like, oh, Leonard the super fan. Oh, he can come hang out in the locker room. You know, like, I mean, he's really famous, but like, like when Kevin Hart, they let that motherfucker on the field for the Super Bowl. Yeah. They wouldn't let him up on stage. Like, he tried to walk up on the stage and like, nope, Kevin, no. That guy's trying to get on stage. I was like, that was hilarious to me. Anyways.
Not that famous.
I like that you want to aspire to a level of fame where they'll let you in, because you could just like aspire to a level of success where you can just afford season tickets and like, get your way.
Well, the only way I'm going to be able to afford money for season tickets is through entertainment. I have no other ways of getting that much money. So
fair enough. So when I said earlier, I should defend this. I said earlier that this is a loving movie about basketball. I think you correctly pointed out, Vince, that this movie also shows the downfalls of it, or just like what it takes to be a Jesus Shuttlesworth is you got to go through hardship. You probably have someone pushing you too hard to get to where you're at. But I think maybe not. I guess not everybody, right?
Coming from the hood, you need that one parent.
Sure.
Don't push.
If he's got to kill your mom to make you the number one player.
Once again, there were some story dynamics that weren't.
What was that scene? What was that scene where Denzel visits his wife's grave?
Oh, yeah.
He starts full on making out and humping that grave. And people that are listening to this are going to think I'm exaggerating. And I am a little bit. But he kisses it a lot, and then he full body hugs that too.
Hugs it. I was like, what are you doing?
And then they crane out like it's a big emotional moment. And I'm like, what?
But look, Denzel acted the shit out of that, dog.
He did
Denzel, I was like, damn. I don't know why the fuck. I don't know
the way he came in his pants so fast.
Huh? Oh yeah, I know. He was like, ah.
That's the worst part of the movie. Sweetness, Mila Jovovich, like the whole.
Yeah, that part is like, what is
angle. You can lift it out, and that movie is shorter, and it is better for it, I think.
But he's just trying to show the aspects of a man out of prison. You know, he's going to try to have
I get it. He's horny out of prison, but they could have just like, it could just be a scene. First thing out of prison, he gets some money, he goes to a prostitute. It doesn't have to be like I've fallen in love with this person. And now she's on the bus. Where's she going? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Back to Kansas.
Back to Kansas. She was the one white woman had like she like had the biggest arc throughout all of it. She was like, I'm going to end prostitution after I met this man for 3 days out of prison and leave this life and go to greener lands.
And like, we never even saw why. Like there was no interaction between,
because Denzel's that good.
That good.
Okay, so sure, the first time he came in his pants, but the second time he's that good that she's like, I gotta get on a bus. I gotta get on a bus.
Which I also was like, I wasn't mad. I was like, this man has had sex in like damn near 7 years.
Yeah.
Of course.
He came in his pants.
It was,
but
I wasn't sure if they just hadn't edited, like if we were supposed to think that they were fucking, and I'm like, I can see his pants are still on, and then she's like, it's okay. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like, wait, are we supposed to think that they're having sex?
She was all nice about it too. She's like, I turned the meter off.
We know he wasn't, because there was a full on fuck scene in this movie.
Oh yes.
That I forgot about.
That big time Willie monologue, and Spike Lee movies, which I kind of appreciate, there's space for all manner of like tangents, and like actors just come in and give these monologues and in the best cases you get like the love hate scene from Do the Right Thing. Like I like those moments of like, we're gonna take a little detour here, but the big time Willie, right? Is that his, is the weirdest and it's cool because he's telling you stuff about like being a prospect and being like indoctrinated into like the courting process of trying to like schools and the NBA trying to like entice Jesus. But that monologue is so wild, and he's just hamming it up, just driving that convertible. It's crazy. And that's the scene, right, Leonard, where there's all the breasts, the montage.
Oh yeah. No. I'm talking about the full on fuck scene when he goes to Tech U.
Oh yeah, well,
prostitutes in the
notice
bedroom.
how few shots Ray Allen is actually in. I feel like Ray Allen's mom, who was at all of his games, was like, Ray Allen's not going to be in this softcore porn you're filming. Like he's only going to be. Those girls are like, I hope you come here next year. It's like, I know how this works. Those girls do not go to this school. They were hired.
Exactly.
There's no question about it.
Yeah.
Which is funny because Louisville, the university, or is Louisville University, got busted for. I mean, all the schools do it, but they got busted like because they got caught because there was records of them paying prostitutes for when recruits were coming.
Real life
coming
stuff.
on visit. They would just have prostitutes come. And it used to be like, it was always like, oh, we'll get the co-eds. It's like, no, this is big business now. We pay the topper. We can't risk it with these co-eds. We got to get professionals.
Yeah, 100%.
Actually,
the friendly ladies of Tech U. I love that the schools, it's Tech U and then it's Big State University. I do find yourself wishing that they could have just used like NYU or I don't know, a school with a better basketball program. But like that would have been, but
they're not going to let it when they're over here talking about how shady all these schools are.
That's another reason you hire Ray Allen, though, right? Because he's probably telling that, not to say that Ray Allen got involved with prostitutes, just to say that he could probably say, like, yes, this is what happens. This is how it would go. This is how like the recruiting thing is. So,
exactly. Yeah, full on. And they had Travis Best. They had a couple other basketball players. But let's get back on the inside man before we get into this criteria.
I have a question real quick.
Please.
Yes. I apologize. I've said a few cuss words. Am I allowed to cuss on the podcast?
Yes, you are allowed.
All right, just making sure it wasn't going to be a lot of boops.
Inside man.
More may come.
Oh, it's going to. Especially
not allowed to cuss, but we do want to talk again about that scene where Denzel comes in his pants.
Sorry, let me go. Denzel does not come in his pants in Inside Man.
Not an inside.
We do.
Don't hold it against this.
He does almost blow a load when he takes down Clive Owen.
Yeah,
he does.
This little cat and mouse game between Clive Owen and Denzel was really fun to watch. And then adding the whole Jodie Foster aspect, really helped too. So it wasn't too like stagnant, and how it really was just about how like the people that the true powers that be who control all this money and this power can really do whatever they want. In the middle of a heist, they can have someone come in. It seems like a normal heist, but then we learn that there are other things afoot, and we're not actually here for the money in the bank, and we're here for some records that somebody was working with Nazis to start their bank. And I don't, I guess it's so interesting to me, like how humans, especially as you get older, you really care about like your legacy and like your life, and what people think of you left behind. I feel like I'm not gonna give a shit about that, but like this old dude is like about to die, and he like will pay anything in the world to make sure that people didn't know that he was a huge piece of shit.
that he was a Nazi sympathizer. The owner of the Manhattan Trust Bank, which is being robbed, is played by Christopher Plummer, who is a wonderful actor, but
he does a great job.
Yeah, he's great. But he also just like, he is like, it's like, I need an old white man who looks respectable, but is going to be a Nazi sympathizer. And then I feel like the agent's like, all right, I got Christopher Plummer on the line. Like he's ready to
exactly.
Yeah. So it's because he seems a little sinister, and that idea, like you say, Leonard, that like he can supersede the police protocol. It's like, I got to send Jodie Foster in to make sure my swastika stuff doesn't get stolen from his bank.
It was so funny. They're like, he's asking for a jet. He's like, oh, should I get that acquired for you? Like, yeah. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
should I acquire it for you? Like, they're like, what? But yeah, they're asking for a plane. It's all stalling, and it's a pretty good, elaborate plan. It's a great heist that they pulled off, especially when you find out like that they don't need to. They're not trying to take all this like loads of money out, so it's easy for him. It's spoiler alert, I said it earlier. He just walks out of the front door because he's not walking out with bags of money. He literally has a pamphlet and a bag with some diamonds in it.
Yeah, he does wait a week. He has to live in there in that little crawl space that they've erected in the back of the storage area for like a week. But which is another cool reveal because you meet him in the beginning and you assume he's in a prison cell because he says being stuck in a place is not like being in prison or whatever. So you're like, okay, well, that's semantics. But he's not in prison. He's between the wall of a bank and he's going to like pop out behind the Dell computer boxes a week later with his Yankee hat and his aviators.
I do love so how ridiculous. Like when he's walking up the stairs, when he's walking out, the woman who's like coming down the stairs like gives him a second look. Like
she looks at him a long time.
Yeah, she's like, "Who the fuck is this?
What is this dude doing?" I had a problem with this. I feel like I would go into a room and know immediately that the depth perception changed. Like I was like, this is ridiculous.
I was thinking that too.
No one's gonna not notice this at all. Like,
you know what? Maybe I wouldn't say so because these motherfuckers just got dealt with a bank heist. That bank was probably closed for like 2-3 days. You're shaking up. Your views are different. You don't want to go downstairs because that's where they fucking had you. You don't even want to deal with like. People are probably avoiding that, so I could believe it.
It's also possible that room is a storage room. So it's like, it's sort of the thing of like, if your closet was a foot closer, how much time you spend in there necessarily. But yeah, no, I'm with you. There's a lot of things you got to like take at face value, but
I'll roll with the story.
I like my thing of what to me makes this such a like, a solid Denzel, like, I'm trying to think of a better word than typical because you know what I mean. Like, there's a lot of stuff that sometimes you expect from a Denzel movie, and what I like to see him do is like just they have those constant flashbacks of he and Chiwetel's character like grilling the hostages because they dress all the hostages up like the robbers. They're all wearing like paint onesies, and then to get away, other than Clive Owen who's in the wall, they all go out at the same time and they all look like the bad guys. So everybody gets arrested, and they got to basically make their way through all these hostages to try to determine if any of them were in on it. And there's that scene where one of the first hostages they get is I think he's Middle Eastern who gets kind of roughed up by the NYPD, which is that's not how the NYPD usually handles things. That's just a bad day for the NYPD, I assume. So this guy's like not in a good mood. He's not like in the mood to be cooperative because he's just had his rights violated, and he's talking to Denzel and he's talking about all these things. And this movie I think came out in 2006. It was filmed in 2005, but either way, it's in the somewhat immediate aftermath of 9/11 and the kind of heightened tensions and discrimination.
Oh shit, he's an Arab. I was like, oh
right.
my.
There's a guy who just goes, oh fuck, he's an Arab, which is wow. But perhaps true to how a situation like that might actually play out. So he's in the coffee. They're talking to him. They're trying to talk him down. He's going on about all these things and like profiling all these things, and then Denzel just cuts him off, and he's making point. He's correct. This character is right, but then Denzel just goes, "I bet you can get a cab though," and like that guy is just like cut off completely at the knees. And apparently Denzel improv that line, and Spike Lee said they almost lost the take because he just cracked up. Like Denzel just this guy just like, yeah, you can't get a cab, and I just feel like that is the kind of cool like Denzel like cut through the bullshit kind of attitude. Yeah. And there's all sorts of moments like that. There's that woman, the guy who recognizes the recording that they have as like the Albanian president, and they think that they're listening in, but actually they've been fed fake audio by the heist guys. So they bring this woman in, and she brings a shopping bag of parking tickets that she wants them to take care of. And she's saying all this stuff. And like, just the way that he like relates to people in this movie. Again, I think that's Denzel's great strength is you just want him one-on-one in a scene with another actor because he tends to always get the better of those situations. Very rarely does someone chew Denzel out in a movie and then you're like, ooh, he just got, he usually has the upper hand when it comes to just the battle of words. So I feel like there's a lot of fun moments like that in this. Last time I had my Johnson pulled that good, it cost me $5.
Yeah,
it's like $5. Tijuana, you don't want to know about it.
I just wish he had more of a scene with that little kid in the bank playing his GTA video game.
Oh my god,
that literally
it's Spike
uses the
Spike
N
Lee.
word. If you kill somebody, it uses the
Spike
N
Lee
yeah,
word.
right
nigga,
there.
yeah, nigga, blah 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 blah. Yeah, I was like, what? He always had message.
Preachy Spike Lee.
Message.
You know what?
Message.
I'm like, that's heavy-handed, Spike. And then I'm like, no, look at GTA. That's the game. He's not even exaggerating. It's like,
No, it was weird. It's
was a
like
little
you have
weird.
Clive Owen, this white guy who's robbing a bank with this black kid, and him looking at this video game and saying,
I'm
"You
gonna
know
have to
what?
tell your dad
I need to
about
talk
this."
to your dad about what
yeah,
you're playing."
what the hell?
Like what?
I love how chill that kid is. He goes, "What's the game about?" He goes, "You gotta do dirt. You gotta like go around."
Yeah, he was so chill. It was funny.
Finish your pizza. I'll take you back to your dad. Why is that kid alone? Anyway,
exactly, bro. I was like, why?
Because they took him. We're taking your kid. Steve-O wants to have a conversation with him inside of the vault. Cool. They both sat on some money and he watched him eat some pizza.
Gonna talk to him about these.
How did that go down?
Gonna talk to him about these violent video games because there's also time to impart wisdom while we're doing this thing. That I built that into my master plan.
Okay, let's go ahead and get into these talking points.
Yeah, let's do it.
Can I just say that Jodie Foster also sounded like she was a sex operator every time she spoke in this movie? It didn't make any sense. She was like, "Oh, is that what you want? Maybe I can get that for you." It was just like she was trying to be seductive in every single scene. I was like, "Who is this woman?"
I felt like she and Denzel kind of had some interesting sexual chemistry. Like the second time they have a scene where he's talking to her like by the door, and she's like afterward, where he's like, you know, "Oh, you don't work for me, I work for you." Like where after she's gone in and he's talking to her, which is an interesting pairing. I don't know that anyone ever and I don't think the movie was interested in exploring it. I'm just like, they have chemistry here though. There's like Denzel can have chemistry with the phone book, but it was an interesting role for Jodie Foster for sure, playing like an evil character who we don't typically see from her.
But she also did a great job.
I thought so. Yeah,
she was really great.
You're right, Leonard. Let's get into our 5 criteria. This is a foolproof 5-point plan that we feed these movies into, Vince. And when you come out, we will have a better sense of how we've picked and how they held up. So, Leonard, sorry, what was the first one that we're talking about?
The first one is pop culture.
Okay.
I think this is a hands down runaway favorite for He Got Game, simply on the Jesus Shuttlesworth name alone and the referencing and Ray Allen. We're even hearing it again because Steph Curry is about to break Ray Allen's all 3-point all-time record, and literally Ray Allen, 2-time NBA champions, nickname from that point on was Jesus Shuttlesworth. And there's a lot of coaches and basketball players in this movie. It's one of the go-to basketball movies that people always seem to talk about.
Great soundtrack.
Great soundtrack. He Got Game. She Got Game. Like, that's a pretty big song. But as far as like, there's still little pieces and tidbits that are out there in the zeitgeist and pop culture still maybe today. Not as much so, but I don't know about Inside Man though.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's true. I'm trying to think of like the big pop culture takeaways. I mean, this movie, I guess this is going to be, we'll talk box office, but like this was I think it might still be Spike's, maybe Black Klansman eclipsed it, but this was for a while, like his most popular, his biggest box office film. Like I think it, and we'll get to the specifics of that further on, but like, I remember at the time, like the kind of look of like the kidnappers and Clive Owen, like I feel like that kind of part of it, but I don't, as in terms of a line or like a song or like moment, I don't know that there was anything other than like having the hostages dress like the kidnappers, which I feel like I've seen done a couple times since. I don't know if this was the first movie to do it, but like there was some stuff about the heist itself, but otherwise, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that was cool. I did like that.
Vince, did any of these movies cover like, or did you remember anything watching them again from like when you saw them that we haven't covered, or
as far as like how it influenced pop culture?
Yeah,
I would definitely say that like He Got Game was representative of like pop culture, because you're always going to have a story like this with the next great coming of an athlete who is going to, and you're going to wonder what's going to like, where they're going to go to college, what they're going to do. Like it's tied into our culture as like our society. And so, I mean, you're not dealing with a lot of bank robbers. You're not I guess if anything with the costumes, maybe Squid Games. You know, you got like a lot of costumes in that, but
Oh, I like it. You're pulling things from the ether and giving me more of an
I'm trying
argument
to
in
give you
this
something.
category. But I think
Yeah.
you're right, Leonard. I think this one, and again, Vince, these don't have to have any weight, or they can have weight if you want when you make your decision. But I think we would have to acknowledge pop culturally, He Got Game is the more lasting movie. It's the one that you might hear referenced more recently. Number 2, how well do these movies hold up? This is kind of in some ways it's like the inverse of pop culture. It can be in the same way, but like I was thinking about, I said already, like Jesus Shuttleworth, I feel like the hype around him in the movie has not been for one person since like LeBron. Like in terms of the like this guy's high school game, like how many times would you actually have like Rick Pitino talking about like this is the complete player about a high school kid? Not very often, even for the number 1 ranked pick. But for LeBron, you did. You have people, you were like, ESPN was televising his high school basketball games. It was a whole thing about, was he going to sign? Was he going to go to school? Like all that stuff. So I feel like that kind of holds up well. Like, I mean, Leonard, this is your movie, but I feel like that sort of, for sure.
100% holds up well. And even some of the aspects of the recruiting and the agent stuff, you know, things have changed a lot in the last 5 to 10 years with that, the whole G League and stuff like that. And more players are just going straight to the pros. Basketball, you know, college basketball is taking a huge hit as far as talent and whatnot. But yeah, I feel like that all holds up, especially, you know, because it's kind of era specific. It's like it's a really 90s movie. So I feel like all that holds up.
There's a scene. There's a scene in the beginning where Denzel is outside his. He's got 2 kids. It's Jesus, and then there's Mary, who's I guess middle school age at this point, and he's outside her school when she gets out, and obviously she doesn't know he's been let out of prison. So he sees her and he gives her a big hug, and then he just goes, "My little woman," which reminded me of Bob Odenkirk in the Little Women movie that came out of it. Like that has nothing to do with anything, but I just remember it was like a meme. Because Little Women, I don't know. Have you guys seen Greta Gerwig's Little Woman?
No.
Leonard, no. Vince, no. Oh, now I got you guys a movie. It's the the classic story, Little Women, Jane Austen. I'm gonna double check that, but But there's a scene where the dad of the Little Women is not in the whole movie, and you're watching this movie, and then the dad shows up like midway through the movie, and it's Bob Odenkirk from
what?
Yeah. And so you're like,
God.
Bob Odenkirk is the dad, and then they all run to him, and then he just goes, my Little Women. And it's
oh my God.
So it's like Bob Odenkirk just showed up. Like you just had Better Call Saul just show up in your movie, and he just said the title like that, like Michael Jordan's just saying He Got Game in the middle of the movie. And for whatever reason, when Denzel said that, even this movie came out 20 years before, I laughed and I was like, that's the same. He said it the same way. My Little Woman. Hilarious. So I'm going to say that holds up too. Inside Man, it's a heist movie. Those don't ever really go out of style. Yeah. I don't know that anything like, I guess we talked about like some of the post 9/11 racial tensions, but luckily we're still living in that world today. So I would say that holds up.
It's still here.
It really does.
It doesn't strike you as
once again,
wrong.
If you listen to this podcast regularly, I am never against any like racism or like misogyny.
No, you're for it.
If it's in a period piece, like I don't want you to go over, like don't whitewash the shit, man. Like let me see it. If it's gonna be a part of the story that has to be stated, don't like, or for the context has to be, it has to be shown, or if not, at least for the scenario. And if it's not, then I'm just like, oh, well, this is bullshit. So
what's that scene where like Denzel's talking to the cop? The first cop who finds out about it is like a street uniform officer. He goes up to the door and someone holds a revolver in his face. And then he like goes,
Magnum.
Yeah. And then he goes and he's talking to Denzel later. And he says something. I genuinely don't recall specifically what he says, which is probably good, but he says something racist. And Denzel's like, well, just watch what you're saying or whatever.
Oh,
and the cop,
yeah.
The cop is like, all right, I'll be more careful or something like that. And I was like, this seems interesting.
He's talking about when the kid shot him, a 12-year-old kid shot him in the chest.
Yeah. And Denzel's like, maybe don't say all those things that you're saying. The cop's like, I'll be more careful. Like the cop seems to have like some kind of lesson learned in that moment. Or maybe I misinterpreted that scene, but
I'd rather be an old bigot. He's like, I'd rather be an old bigot than a handsome corpse.
He says an old bigot than a handsome corpse. Oh, so he doesn't learn a lesson.
He doesn't learn a lesson. He's like, I'm going to be a bigot.
No, he says I'm going to be an old beggar than a handsome corpse, but he's like, but I will work. He's like, you know what? But I will work on what I say.
Right, that's what he said.
I was like, I appreciate
which
that.
is basically just him learning the lesson of don't say the quiet part out loud, which I don't know is going to make him better. But that's a real solid Denzel's doing this guy. Is like, because I feel like let racists be racist, and then people will know. Denzel's like, no, you got to keep that shit locked down.
Keep that shit to yourself.
I did appreciate Jesus saying at one point to Rosario Dawson when she's accusing him of having sex with the white ladies at school, like she knows right away that that's what he did when he went to Tech U, and he goes, if I was with a white woman, my mother would be spinning in her grave.
Right? Right? He just straight up was like, I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there.
Lie.
Yeah, he's just
straight lying.
That woman was an eighth Chicano.
She wasn't white, so my mom
wasn't white.
She wasn't full white.
One drop.
To be specific.
But yeah, no, I feel like both these hold up.
They hold up fine. Yeah.
The third and the some would say the most important category.
I think for sure. I think Vince will agree once we get into it.
Was Luis Guzman in either one of these movies?
Luis Guzman.
You know, Luis Guzman, famous character actor. He's in a lot of Paul Thomas Anderson movies. He's been in a lot of things. We've seen him. He was not in
either one of
movie, Leonard. He wasn't in.
He was not in my movie either.
Damn.
No, he wasn't in Luis Guzman was not in this. I've met Luis Guzman before.
What?
You met him?
Yeah, very briefly. This
where?
was in Lexington, Kentucky.
Lexington, Kentucky.
That's not a place you meet Luis Guzman.
He was Luis Guzman came to this bar I was at, or this club I was at in Lexington, Kentucky, and he was like a featured guest. Luis Guzman came in as a feature, like they paid him to come to this bar.
To do what?
An appearance fee?
An appearance fee. It
For
was
Luis
like
Guzman?
actually.
Were they doing improv or something? Like what was happening?
No. It was just like you had a DJ and you had Luis Guzman just being at this bar.
This is not real.
This is real. Lexington, Kentucky.
Luis
Cats were like,
Guzman?
oh, Luis Guzman's gonna be there. Cats were taking pictures. It was wild. I'm gonna tell you a true story. I'm gonna tell you a true story that's truly happened to me. I got a drink.
You did not know who he was. We just saw you look
I
him
just
up on
looked
your
him
phone.
up. I just
But
looked
now
him
he
up.
knows.
As soon as you saw a picture of him,
I was
you were
like,
oh, that
cat.
was that dude.
That was that dude. True story. True story.
What year
real
was
quick.
it? What year was it?
I was 2004.
Okay.
2004.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm in line to go to the bathroom. The guy's line was longer, but it went faster than the girl's line.
Mm-hmm.
I go into the bathroom and this girl is just like pants down peeing, like on the toilet, like, but she was tight too, and like she's peeing, and some dude was like trying to holler at her while she was peeing. I'm not lying. I'm not lying. Her girl was in there too, and she was like, she looked at him, she was like, "This is Luis's pussy." She said that to him, and he was like, "Oh, okay, well." And then I was like, "Where am I at right now?"
Oh my God!
You're in Lexington, Kentucky, my friend.
It was in Kentucky.
I thought you were going to say the guy trying to holler at her was Luis Guzman. And I'm like, we're going to have to retire this segment right now.
No, Luis Guzman, he was chilling in VIP, dog. I gave him a pound. That was it. He was like, that was it.
Okay, because I thought that was the brief moment you met Luis Guzman, but
no, it was a girl that I just remember just peeing out in public in front of a bunch of guys and not caring. And she was like,
wow.
This is Luis.
Interesting.
Do you know how to spell pussy?
P-U-S-S-Y. I don't know if Vince heard that.
I was throwing you a line from your own movie. It goes P-U, and then you jumps in. It goes H-I-V.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
yeah. It was from
okay.
He Got Game.
Let's let that full minute of silence hang in the final edit of this.
Oh, it's gonna be there. It's gonna be there.
That was a nice pullback.
Thank you.
I remember.
Okay, where would
like
Luis Guzman fit in either one of these movies? I feel like Luis Guzman would be. Maybe he could be Uncle Bubba. He could be Uncle Bubba.
Oh, that would be hilarious if he was Uncle Bubba.
He would be Uncle Bubba. Also, was Uncle Bubba molesting Mary? Because that's what it sounded like.
Who?
Because he was like, I had to get her out of that apartment. He's like, I don't want her staying in no apartment with Uncle Bubba. He said
that's right.
Twice in the movie.
Oh shit!
Yeah, he's like, I had to move Mary out of that apartment. I couldn't let her. And then,
but then why would he
the second time he was talking about like when he went to school, he's like, I'm not letting her stay with Uncle Bubba. Like, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
But if he had, I didn't pick that up, but I see what you're saying, and that makes sense. But now I'm thinking about it. Why would he then be like, I'm going to buy you a house? You don't buy a house to someone
because black people just didn't address shit back then, man. They still don't sometimes, So I don't know, but that was weird. It was
some weird stuff going on.
I don't know if something weird. I don't know if something weird had happened, but maybe he was just worried about it, and he's like, I don't trust this man.
Yeah, that's more like he's just But shouts to Uncle Bubba. He has some funny moments in that scene where he just buys him a car, and
what color do you want? Black,
right?
Blue. Got the retractable moon roof.
I know who Luis Guzman is in Inside Man. If I had to put him in Inside Man, you guys may have other thoughts, but he's the guy with the Albanian wife. Like I want him to be he wants to come in with a construction hard hat. And he goes, I know what that language is. And then it's like, you got to call her. And he goes, I don't want to call her. Like, Luis Guzman would kill that part.
That character was so goddamn funny. I was like, this character makes no sense. And I was like, but this is New York City. So
he's so New York.
Sense.
Yeah.
He's like, oh no, not again. He's like, you volunteered yourself. Am I getting arrested? I'm like, what?
It's also to say that, oh yes, that's Albanian. Oh, what are they saying? Well, I don't speak it. It's like, just say that up front so we know that like.
Oh man, that was such a fun. Yeah, that would have been great. That would have been hilarious. He would have been funny as that, or just as any one of the hostages, like in one of the interviews, he would be a funny interview.
That's true. He could be one of the hostages quite easily too. So you know what? Despite once again, we've gone 0 for Luis Guzman this season, but this is still the most successful version of this segment because Vince had a Luis Guzman story.
One of the greatest Luis Guzman story that would ever have been told on this podcast. So
he has some faithful chicks around him. That's a faithful chick. You know what I mean?
The toilet stuff. All right. Well,
this is Luis Guzman segment, and it's over. Let's go into stats. He got game disrespected as always by the white people.
These are both Spike Lee movies starring Denzel. So, but
yeah, I know. 6.9. I'm not even really honestly. I'm not mad at these ratings. 6.9 on IMDb and 81% on Rotten Tomato. 83% audience score. So 81% on the tomato meter, 83% on the audience.
Okay.
It made 22 million in the box office, and I don't know how much it cost. Let me find out. It cost 25. So it lost money. This movie lost money. The budget was 25 million, and it made 22.4.
That surprised me because Denzel was a movie star in 1998, obviously.
Yeah.
And so I guess maybe, like you say, Leonard, I mean, you do say it, and I give you a hard time when I think you're using it strategically. But you're right. This is a movie with an all-black cast, and it was probably just not promoted the same way as Inside Man, which has a lot of white people in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know to say that's the whole reason. I don't know when they released it or whatever, but I would have felt like this would have been a more popular movie. This is like meant to be, other than the fact that it's heavy and Denzel kills his wife, it's sort of meant to be like a crowd pleasing movie. Fun stuff in it. Inside Man, 7.6 on IMDb, 86% Rotten Tomatoes. And that's the critic score. The fan score I'm loading is 85%. And it made, I'm going to try to find the budget, but it made $184.4 million, which again, at the time, and it might still be the case, was the biggest Spike Lee box office ever. It was made for $45 million. So it made bank. It made 4 times back its budget. Pretty good.
Yeah. No, like you said, it was probably his biggest movie up until Black Klansman, and there's another reason why. This is a movie. This is why I don't consider this a Spike Lee joint. It's like it wasn't written by him. It's not at all like it's this movie for sure was written for white people, and he was like, I'm putting Denzel in it. I'm putting black people in this movie. Like so, like. Anyone could play these roles, which is great, though. It's not like specific to a black culture or white culture. It's like a movie that anyone can play or be in.
Yeah.
And honestly, I want to say this. I feel like, I was going to save it for the final argument. I'll say it. I feel like Inside Man would be better if Denzel was the bank robber. If like all the bank robbers, I know it wouldn't work because then they're different races. But if they were like, but if there were a way that they could hide their face, but if Denzel was the heist leader, that would have been dope.
Yeah, he definitely could have played Clive Owen's part. It would have been a little bit different, but yeah, I mean, for sure. What did I have to say based off that? Maybe nothing. Maybe I'm just stalling before we get to our fifth and final criteria. Leonard, we are there.
We haven't been recording ourselves on our GarageBand, so we don't know the time, and I feel like we've run pretty long.
No, we're in range. We're as long
cool.
as we usually are.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but let's go into these final arguments. I went first last time, so I'll let Quinn go first this time.
Oh, really? You're gonna do that to me when you're sitting?
Okay. Oh, don't say anything.
Okay. Well, what do you want me to do? You want me to go?
All right, I'll go first. Fine. We are talking Denzel Washington here. I'm not going to say either one of these movies are the best Denzel Washington film. Clearly not, especially Inside Man. But when you think of Denzel Washington, you think of, like Training Day, Malcolm X. You think of the speeches from All About you think about the speeches about Remember the Titans. You think about the impassioned speeches in John Q when he's trying to get his son help. You think about monologues. You think about scenes of him on a basketball court, pushing his son to the ground, throwing him to the ground, teaching him lessons. You might not see Denzel as much as you do on the screen and Inside Man and He Got Game. But when Denzel is on the screen and He Got Game, god damn it, it's the quintessential Denzel Washington moments. Impassioned, teaching lessons, being stern, loud, just making sure that he is being seen, he is being heard, and he is acting his ass off. There is no scene in Inside Man that I can think of like, damn, that was a Denzel moment, or that was, Denzel is just some interpersonal, let me figure out this noir. That's not Denzel. Denzel is the patriarch. Denzel is the leader. Denzel is the coach. And that's what he is. He's all of those things in this movie. Normally, Denzel's the hero, but in this one, he's the convict who is teaching lessons, trying to be a better man. And the story isn't the greatest story, but what he was given with, Denzel produced gold. So I'm going to say this movie is more of a Denzel movie. It's a real Spike Lee joint. The moments that you get from Denzel are raw and real, and you don't get that in Inside Man. Inside Man may overall be the better movie, but it's not what I think of when I think of Denzel movie. This just, when we were thinking about movies to choose, I didn't even think about Inside Man at all. It didn't even, I completely had forgotten about it, So I think that says something for that. And that's the end of my argument.
Okay. I thought I feel like you got me, back and forth in the whole, like, what's a legit Spike Lee movie? I'm going to say, for the purposes of this conversation, what's a legit Spike Lee movie is irrelevant, because we're not talking about Spike Lee. We're talking about Denzel Washington. And Denzel Washington has been great in Spike Lee movies, and he's been great in movies directed by Tony Scott or any other number of people. Denzel is Denzel. So I'm going to let that one lay, because I don't think it matters. We talked about already how neither of us would have picked the movies that we picked. We probably would have just picked Training Day. Leonard said that the prompt wouldn't have even gotten to me before he would have locked in Training Day. So we are picking not the quintessential Denzel movie. We got to go deeper into the bag for that. And when I was thinking of all the movies that I've seen, I have not seen all of Denzel's movies. I'm going to just have to cop to that, because I'd be lying if I said it. So I have not seen Malcolm X. Leonard has. He didn't pick it. That's interesting. I picked a movie.
Give him a chance.
I had to think about what I think about when I think of Denzel. I feel like we talk about this from like movie stars, what we expect of them. Tom Cruise, we usually expect him to be putting himself in some sort of like, he's running and putting himself in some sort of extreme situation where he's doing a stunt. Brad Pitt, we expect him to be cool and handsome and whatever. Like movie stars, George Clooney, he's always kind of like the boss. He's in control, whatever. We have these ideas of what movie stars bring to their movies, and I think that's how we think of them. And then the movie themselves could defy those expectations or not, but that's the persona of a movie star. And when it comes to Denzel, I just kept coming back to one word. And I think we've been trying to describe like his essence in this podcast. And that word for me is control. I feel like Denzel is a guy who is always in control of a scene that he is in. And I think there's moments, before Leonard's going to jump in, I think there are moments, particularly on the basketball court, where he's in control and he got game for sure. But I think he's usually in his most iconic roles. He's an authority figure of some sort. Doesn't always mean he's a cop, but I'm thinking Malcolm X. He's in, he's in a revolutionary. He's he's the anti-authority figure, but he's in an authoritative position. He's a football coach, like in Remember the Titans, in Training Day. He's a crooked cop, but like he runs the whole joint. Like that's what we think about when we think about Denzel. So it's interesting. In He Got Game, he is not a character in control. He's not in control of his life. He's not in control of his prison sentence. He's not in control of his son. And that's interesting. But I don't think it's what we think of when we think of Denzel movies. I think more close to the prototypical performance from Denzel is kind of the put upon cop that we see in Inside Man, who is maybe dealt a bad hand, but because he's Denzel, we know going into every scene and every situation that he has the upper hand or he's going to extract the upper hand. So even though Jodie Foster can spit him up and chew him out and pull rank on him, he's got the pen. And I'm going to come and show you, and I'm going to walk up to the mayor while he's having lunch with Jodie Foster at the end of this movie. Like the way Denzel exerts power in Inside Man is perhaps less obvious, but it's just kind of what we expect from him in movies. He's always going to come out on top because he's just one step ahead and he's cool and he's whatever. Vince, this is going to be the most important decision of your life.
You son of a bitch.
Or
what
maybe,
movie? What movie is that from, though? What
or
movie is
maybe
that from?
it's from He Got Game. And I'm trying to have game right now, Leonard. Maybe more accurately, it's going to be the most important decision of my life because I'm hanging on by a thread here. I'm going into this fight with Leonard, who has a deeper Denzel knowledge. And when he picked He Got Game, I was like, I think you screw up because you picked a good Denzel movie and a good Denzel performance, but I don't think it's prototypical. I don't think it's what you think of. And I think Inside Man is a tighter, more entertaining movie, and it's more of what we expect from Denzel. And I'm speaking collectively. You said your two favorite actors, Vince, are Denzel and Sidney Poitier. I mean, Sidney Poitier is known for certain things. He was kind of always the professional gentleman kind of character. He had more patience and more empathy than a lot of the characters use it. I guess I'm saying is he had a type. I think Denzel has a type. I don't think they're the same other than they're black leading men. But I think Denzel is doing what Denzel does best in Inside Man. Is it his best movie? No, we've gone over that. His best movie is not available to me. I think I picked the next best thing. That's it. That's my timeline.
Okay. Is it on
now,
me?
Vince, comes a choice for you to decide. You can take as long or as short, like as much time as you need. You can talk through it. You can just tell us. It's up to you. The ball's in your court. Basketball
I
reference.
wish I had more time. Yeah, that was also a really good movie. Surprised no one picked that one. But I want to wait until Leonard's screen is completely black because it just looks like it's continuously getting darker and darker in his room. It's just like Leonard's just gradually turning down the lights the entire time. This is a hard decision because there's two totally different movies with two different types of screen times between the both for Denzel Washington. The stories were somewhat ridiculous in their own rights for both of them because it was also a Spike Lee film. And I see what you're saying, Quinn. Was this typical Denzel? Denzel is such a strong character that he should be commanding. And I mean, look, this guy, even from watching him in Glory with a single Denzel tear, you knew he was just special at that point. It was like this. I mean, you knew he was superstardom because everyone talks about that part of the movie, and it was just a co-star part, but everyone remembers that part of that movie. So you want to see an evolution in him, but you got to also realize this is what's so special about Denzel. No one talks about any other actors, I don't feel like this. Like, you talk about Matt McConaughey. I don't know. You said Tom Cruise, but Tom Cruise, I guess you are kind of right. Tom Cruise kind of like falls into that category where you're like, yeah, is Tom Cruise going to do this or that? But Denzel, I feel like he's just like in his own right. Like, his essence and his voice is what attracts you to him, and it's just like, he's supposed to be that character, but it's really Denzel in that story. Going back to He Got Game. when we saw Denzel and He Got Game, man, you just saw a rawness to the film. I felt like it was a better, like just visually a better story than Inside Man. Inside Man was just too like formulaic in a sense, and they were going film noir to like this classical, like this also like modern thriller, and trying to be like, you know, keep you guessing. And I was like, why does this guy just pull down that mask? When he pulled him down, it's so hard for him to just pull it down. He even had a chance to just pull down the mask. He knew he wasn't going to shoot him. Pull it down, just get his face. But either way, he never did that. All right, I won't stall you any longer. This is how I'm going to choose the best movie. I'm going to choose the best movie because Denzel is an instrument. My question is it harder for Denzel to go from borderline sex fiend with his girl to detective than to go from murderer to inspirer? I think it's harder to go from murderer to inspirer. So He Got Game wins for me, baby.
God damn it. We are the champions.
God,
damn.
It was fun. It was great arguments.
I was trying to give. I honestly thought I might lose this one. I was trying to give Quinn a dub. I was trying to give Quinn a little break. You know, I just want to say shout out to Vince Peagler III.
Vince, you don't know what you've done.
Shout out to Ronnie Adrian.
Oh my God.
Shout out to James. Nope. Shout out to Amelia Aquino.
Amalia.
Amalia Aquino. What is wrong with me? Shout out to Josh Simpson. And I think that's it. I feel like
I don't know. I wasn't listening. I'm just I mean, I shouldn't win a best Denzel movie, argument, but I needed to. And Leonard, you would not let me say, and then you tried to get me to go first, which is how I knew that you were afraid.
Yeah.
I knew you were afraid.
Yeah, I was a little worried because I might have fumbled the bag on this one. But after watching, because I was like, Denzel's not really in this movie as much as I remember.
I wasn't even going to bring that up. I was like, who cares? It's clearly his movie.
But yes, it's clearly his movie because all the parts I remember were goddamn. They were still there and they were still good. So yeah, it was a tough one for you this week. And I was real worried because if we still have the guest we have for next week, I was going to lose that one. I'm probably going to lose that one. So
who knows? Man, I'm like rooting for the Cubs at this point. I cannot win a fucking pennant for my life. Vince, you've just handed Leonard the season 4 championship for the Film vs. Film podcast. Leonard I was trying to hint around that Leonard was on the precipice, but he wouldn't let me. And out of some sort of, I should have fouled you like Denzel against an 11-year-old. I should have just said it and tried to get some points on
foul.
That.
Take the foul.
No, you're not going to get me off my game.
They're going to start calling me Leonard Smith the third because that's 3 in a row, baby. Let's go.
I like it.
This is tough. This is tough for me. Leonard, you talk for a while, but we got to wrap up this podcast.
This is a very fun episode.
It was fun.
I had a feeling you were. I started feeling good about it in the episode when you were like, I had problems with the Inside Man story. I was like, oh, okay, hold on, there we go. But Vince, where can the people find you?
Where can they find me?
Yeah, where can they find you?
Hey, you can find me on Instagram. King Vince Peagler III, VINCEP as in Paul EAGLER, and then 3 I's. I guess that's the suffix in Instagram. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Come check out Lemon Pepper Wet. We blowing up, baby. Comedy Improv. We will be at San Francisco Sketch Fest in January.
January 8th and 9th.
Say what?
January 8th and 9th at
January
Piano
8th and
Fight.
9th. You're right. Yep, for sure, at Piano Fight. That's going to be on fire. And then we're continuously just performing throughout Los Angeles, West LA, Hollywood. Holla at us throughout this month and next year.
Yeah, exciting.
So exciting times ahead.
Lemon
Pepper Wet.
We celebrating. It's a celebration.
It's a celebration,
I'm a champion.
Everything's coming up, Leonard. You can find me standing on an overpass over the LA River, anywhere in and around Los Angeles, because I have to end it now that I've lost to Leonard 3 seasons in a row. I got to completely refigure out the way I watch movies. I may I may just send a substitute for next week's episode. Leonard, I don't know if I'm even going to play out the string this time. I'm pretty defeated.
Man. I feel like that Monsters Inc. You really blew it with that Monsters Inc. pick.
There was nothing I could have picked. Ronnie was like, "Yeah, I was going to pick that." If I hadn't picked Toy Story, I don't know. No, he said even Toy Story. Why am I litigating old losses? All I know is I'm on a losing streak. I think I need to go and train. I got to go do what Kobe did. Just go to Germany and try some new film picking technique, film argument. But it has been incredibly fun talking Denzel movies with you, Vince. You know your shit. You could not be fooled into picking Inside Man over He Got Game. the thing that was tough for me is that I just had not seen enough Denzel movies. And I had to hide that as much as I could. But Leonard beat me last week. He's only seen 2 Pixar movies. I had the entire Pixar category, so there's really no excuse. But I was like, oh man, I would have loved to have seen Malcolm X or any other, even Unstoppable, the train movie that he did that people like. I was like, wow, I need a wider Denzel.
In time, Man on Fire. I was really mad about Book of Eli. I was really disappointed in that movie.
I was, but Denzel was fantastic.
Have either of you guys seen Devil in a Blue Dress?
Yeah, a long time ago though.
That's a great one that I've only seen recently, and I was like, "This is incredible." But I was like, "That's not a big enough movie." Is
it A Few Good Men? Is he the lawyer? Is he the head lawyer in A Few Good Men? No, not a few.
That's Tom Cruise.
No.
No.
No. It's the one. No, it's the one with Meg Ryan, where the pilot, the woman pilot,
yeah, I know something.
Along Came a Spider, or
no, that's Morgan Freeman.
I haven't seen it, so I'm not mixing up Morgan Freeman and Denzel. I just know he's or is it Julia Roberts, The Firm, or one of those lawyer movies?
I'm gonna pull it up right now. But this man has done so many.
He's done a lot.
Movies.
So many.
And Leonard, I'm changing my profile picture back, and I will not. I'm gonna really start because I live in the punishment now.
Courage Under Fire. Courage Under Fire.
That's right.
Oh, I almost chose Antoine Fisher. That's funny. I almost chose Antoine Fisher. I'm really happy.
Ooh, I'm glad you didn't make me watch that. He directed that one, didn't he?
I think so.
That's boring.
That movie's so sad.
Okay.
It's real fucked up. It's a true story too, so that's why it's really sad.
I almost picked John Q. Would John Q have done anything for you?
I think John Q. Yeah.
Nah.
All right, but this has been a fun one.
This has been a good
one. We won't be seeing Quinn at an overpass. I'm going to talk about, but we will see you
in the cinema. I gotta come up with a whole new thing. All right, see you guys. Thank you.
All right, team. Fun times.
Thanks, Vince. All right, we'll catch everybody next week, and have a good one.